Next up is the flagship gun of this entire game, the splatter shot. The splatter shot's one of those weapons that's pretty much always going to change design in every Splatoon game. We've seen this in 1, 2, and also 3. It usually comes with an overall very balanced kit, and this one is no different. As you can see, all the stats are pretty much the same. Decent range, decent damage, and decent fire rate. It comes with Burst Bomb, which is again one of the most fun subs in the whole game, but it also comes with Splashdown, and if I were to be honest, Splashdown is not really that good, but I'm glad it came with it because it makes the other variants seem way better. Next up is the Tintatech Splatter Shot. The Tintatech Splatter Shot comes with a more basic bomb in the form of Splat Bomb and Inkjet, which is a way better sub for what this weapon actually is. And finally, my favorite is the Kinsa Splatter Shot. The Kinsa Splatter Shot comes with the Suction Bomb, which has a lot of outplay potential with this weapon specifically because it has a lot of things that can really shut out people's options. For example, if you throw out Tinta missiles and you kind of lock down a position of the map, you can also throw a Suction Bomb to lock off another portion of the map, and you can really outplay people with that. Anytime I'm using a splatter shot, I always use this one just because it's so fun to use, and as far as design, it's easily my favorite. So you probably might have noticed that there's a P90 in this game, and there's also a Splatoon 1 splatter shot. Well, these are just skins that go over the weapon. There's a few of these in the game as far as hero variants go, but there's no real difference in any of these weapons. Next up is the 52 Gal. This is one of the most highest damaging weapons in the entire game. It can kill in as little as 2 shots, but is made up for with a slower fire rate and not really that good accuracy. It does have more range than every weapon I've mentioned previously. This kit is kind of a weird one. It comes with point sensor, which is just you throw it out and anyone that's in that area gets pinged, which is kind of a weird thing to put on a rushdown weapon like this, but the special on this weapon makes way more sense in the baller. The 52 Gal Deco is definitely in a weird spot. As you know, this is a rushdown weapon like I've mentioned previously, and it comes with a sub that complements that. The weird thing is, it is also paired up with the most backline special you could have possibly put on a weapon. It's honestly very surprising that they decided to put this kit on there. I'm starting to feel like this was pretty much randomized. I would never want to put a Stingray on a weapon like the 52 Gal. But I guess if you know how to use it, then I guess you can get kills with it. Next up is the Kinsa 52 Gal. This one's pretty good because it has Splash Wall, and that's pretty much a guaranteed win if you're fighting against anyone else that doesn't have a bomb or something like that. It comes with the sub of Splash Wall, which helps you win engagements and helps you move around the map more if there's any backliners in the area because of how rushdown this weapon is. And the sub is Booyah Bomb, which, as I mentioned before, just a spirit bomb you charge and then you can throw out. And next up is the N-Zap. And a lot of people compare the N-Zap to the Splatter Shot, and that's probably because they have very similar stats in a way. And as you can see, the damage is significantly lower, but the fire rate is way higher. This pretty much balances out their time to kill, and it's pretty even. The only real difference is the amount of ink and run speed they kind of both have. They're a little bit different, and the N-Zap has more run speed, but I'm pretty sure the Splatter Shot inks a lot more. Not to mention the specials that it come with are definitely different, and some people prefer the N-Zap. I personally prefer the Splatter Shot though. So much like the Kinsa Splatter Shot, the N-Zap 85 has a Suction Bomb, which again can pretty much be used in the same way. But it has Ink Armor. Ink Armor is more of a midline special, whereas anything you would put on the Splatter Shot is pretty much always rushdown, which is pretty much the big separation between these two weapons. Next up is the N-Zap 89. This comes with Auto Bomb, which is kind of a weird bomb. You throw it out, it kind of chases players for a little bit and then it explodes. But it comes with Tinta missiles, which again has a lot of outplay potential, is really good at just shutting off areas of the map and also just locking on to people in general. It's pretty good for that. Next up is another Sheldon Pix weapon, and that is the N-Zap 83. And if you haven't noticed yet, these are actually Nintendo Zappers, or based around the Nintendo Zapper, and the dates behind them are dates when these models existed and were getting sold. So with that being said, the sub is a Sprinkler. Yeah, I think it's a weird weapon to put on a inking weapon like this. On most weapons, it actually works out, but when a weapon inks this much, I wouldn't really opt to have this on there. But I guess it makes sense. This weapon also has Ink Storm, which is again something that's pretty good for inking. You just throw it out and it inks in an area. Next up is my favorite shooter in the whole game. The Splatter Shot Pro is pretty much the more damage version and more long range. Pretty much, the Splattershot Pro is a more damaging and long-range version of the Splattershot. It's pretty much a polar opposite than the Splattershot Junior because this has a really slow fire rate and is not very good at inking at all. But with this variant, it is made up for and it's special. Inkstorm, it helps you ink a lot more. And it comes with Point Sensor, which is kind of just a weird sub altogether, but I guess it can help in some cases. The next one is the Forged Splattershot Pro. And before the next Splattershot after this one came out, this was the most popular one because it had a useful sub and a useful special. And it also had an Instapop bomb combo. And what I mean by that is the bubble blower. With the bubble blower, you can throw a bomb and also throw out bubbles and kind of interchange them. And if you deal enough damage to the bubbles, they'll explode. So when it comes to one of the highest damaging bombs in the game, you can pretty much pop the bubbles instantly and deal a lot of damage. Stuff like this is good for killing a group of enemies or taking an objective. It's just really good. Next up is the most popular of the splatter shots, and honestly probably one of the most popular weapons in the entire game. And that's just because of how solid it is, and how much better it gets when it's paired with a main power-up. This comes with a pretty basic bomb and Splat Bomb, and again one of the more fun specials in the game in Booyah Bomb. Next up we have the slowest shooter in the whole game. It cash out on range when it comes to shooters, and it also cash out on damage when it comes to shooters. This thing hits hard. It does about 72 damage per hit, and the drop off isn't really that bad because of it. You're always going to get a 2-shot hit, pretty much no matter what. The flaw of this weapon though is that it's not very accurate and has a very slow fire rate, meaning missing shots, even if it isn't your fault, can really mess you up in a gunfight. There's a good select few players in here that definitely like using this weapon. That SRB2 dude is definitely one of them. He pretty much put this weapon on the map when the game first came out. No one was really using it, but this one definitely got put on the map by him. This weapon is pretty popular, and it's very fun to use when you get it to work. Now, the weird thing is, its kit is pretty much not ever good in any of these variants. First off, it comes with Sprinkler, which is really weird to put on a weapon like this. The goal of this weapon isn't really to ink, and I guess Sprinkler helps with that, but the real goal of this weapon is to kill people in 2 shots. And to make it win gunfights even better, it was paired up with ink armor, which tanks a certain number of damage and then goes away after a little bit. Next up is the 96 Deco. This is personally my favorite of the 96 variants. It's a lot of people's favorite variant of this weapon, just because the kit kind of works just a little bit better than the one before. First off, it comes with Splash Wall, which pretty much guarantees it wins the gunfight if you don't have something to break it. You pretty much never want to challenge a 96 with a wall up because you're not winning. And for the special, it has Splashdown, which is a rush down special that they put on a midline that kind of wants to keep its distance. It's just kind of weird. The person that put this weapon on the map is Rockenberg. He was one of my favorite YouTubers back in the day. I loved watching his content. But this weapon has had its ups and its downs. It went from being a good weapon to the worst weapon in the game to now being a good weapon again. The meta changes a lot here, especially for this weapon. And the variant that most people are starting to use these days is actually the default Jet Squelcher. Its kit is kinda weird. It comes with Toxic Mist, which previously was one of the worst subs in the whole game, and Tinta Missiles, which was another one of the worst specials in the whole game. But these got buffed over time, and now the weapon is pretty decent. Next up is the one that was more popular back when this weapon was super popular, is the Custom Jet Squelcher. The Custom Jet comes with Burst Bomb, which is a really good get-off-me tool for this weapon with so much range. And Stingray, which pretty much just helps it play that long-range gameplay that it wants to play. And with that being said, that is the end of the shooters. Tune in next week and I'm going to be going over the blasters and the alternate shooters. Since the blasters is a much shorter list than the shooters, I can pretty much go over that list and the alternate shooters, which is pretty much just 3 weapons. So yeah, with that being said, I'm going to see you guys in the next one. Peace.